Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, and in today's review I'm going to be taking a look at one of my most anticipated figures for 2020, that being the brand new Unique Toys Dragoon, also known as the masterpiece version of Megatron from the last night. Now before I begin this review, I first of all want to say a massive thank you to ShowZ for getting this figure over to me incredibly quickly. This figure is now currently available to pre-order over at ShowZ store and is shipping out incredibly soon. For that, there will be links down in the description box below. If you order direct with ShowZ, you do in fact get the included display base, which is such a fantastic looking piece. I'm unable to show you it in its entirety right now due to how huge this is, but we'll take a more up close detailed look at that display base in just a second. This figure is officially the third entry from Unique Toys in terms of their movie figures. They did collaborate with DX9, I believe, on the La Hire, which was the Last Night Hot Rod. However, if we're strictly speaking to a Unique Toys release schedule, then it was the Unique Toys Peru Kill, Unique Toys Challenger, which was the Last Night Optimus Prime and Age of Extinction Lockdown. And then here we have their third official figure, the Unique Toys Dragoon. This figure looks absolutely remarkable. So without further ado, let's take a closer look at some of the accessories that this figure includes, and then take a more detailed look at Dragoon himself. Now, taking a look at that absolutely huge display base that Unique Toys Dragoon comes with, it is of course inspired on the Driller from Transformers Dark of the Moon, at least the head section of the Driller. And some of the design choices on this really does make me question on whether or not Unique Toys intend to release other components that will actually connect into this, especially this section here. To me, it looks as if though a ball joint or an LED could in fact be placed in there. And when you flip around to the back, there's no denying that this is in fact a ball socketed joint, which could easily be pegged into something for it to move around. I would be incredibly happy if Unique Toys picked up and actually did a Driller figure based on Dark of the Moon. But as it stands, you can see we've got all of the different riveted details as well as the various different teeth. Unfortunately on mine, I am missing one of the larger teeth. As you can see, these larger teeth here do sit in between every two of the smaller teeth, but as it's at the back, you can't really see it, particularly when you have the figure on it. And I do think that the detail on this for the most part is really faithful to the Driller. It is of course intended to be a display base and not necessarily a showpiece, but it really does complement Megatron quite nicely, especially when on display. And due to all of the different ridges within the sculpt, Megatron has no problems being solidified on this display base when posing. Another accessory that Dragoon also includes is actually an alternate head sculpt for your Unique Toys Challenger. If you'll recall, in my previous Unique Toys review where I reviewed the Nemesis version of this, I had the criticism that I wished that Unique Toys had included an updated head sculpt with a colour variation that matched this original version. However, this head sculpt actually came with Dragoon, which is fantastic as it enables us to get a more accurate look out of Optimus Prime. And just showcasing what the previous head sculpt looked like, as you can see upon comparing them, there really is a stark difference. This brand new release by Unique Toys is a heck of a lot more detailed and movie accurate than this original version. Now granted, this version did have the LED function, whereas this version does not, but this one was incredibly annoying in my opinion, as you had to exchange the faceplates, pull off the head if you wanted an alternate head, whereas with this one it's all integrated within the sculpt itself. You simply just have to pull back on this head sculpt and you do in fact reveal an alternate faceplate, much like the Takara Tomy Caliber Optimus Prime, where you can give him the mouth plateless look, which I think looks really nice in terms of detail. So definitely a great inclusion on Unique Toys' part, and it really just sets this Unique Toys Challenger in being a very definitive looking The Last Night Optimus Prime. Now, taking an up close and more personal look at Dragoon himself, my first impressions when getting this figure out the packaging was quite honestly wow. I was absolutely astounded of how well this figure turned out, and considering this figure actually has the capability of transforming into a jet as seen in the movie, just completely blows my mind. With every single release that Unique Toys do, I just get more and more astonished by the level of engineering that this figure has. However, that does come with a slight drawback, as the transformation on this figure is by far the most complex out of all of the Unique Toys products so far. But if that is your thing, you'll definitely absolutely love this figure, as both robot mode and even jet mode look astonishing. To begin with, I have got him wielding both his shield, his fusion cannon, and on his back is the axe weapon. You can see that the shield is just based on some concept art that the 3A version will in fact include as well. We unfortunately never got to see him wield this within the movie, but it's very knight in its design. The overall aesthetic of it goes very well with the overall design of Megatron's body, and I love the gold highlights that are featured throughout as as well, just to give it some differentiation to the colour scheme. We've got some nice sculpted in ridges and grooves in it as well, which makes it quite a nice detailed piece. But one of my favourite accessories that Megatron comes with is, of course, his fusion cannon. This is an astonishing looking piece. Bringing this up close and personal, we can see that it's so faithful to what we see in the movie. It's a lot better than what both the Leader and Voyager versions from Hasbro could do. We've got some nice gold paint apps in it as well, and I love the colouring of it. I do believe that this is sculpted plastic rather than a metallic finish, but the sculpted plastic definitely has a very reflective tone to it as well, so it makes it look rather gunmetal. And as we flip around to the back, we can see more detail. There are some screw holes, but this does in fact have an electronic function, and I love the attention of detail of actually including a die-cast metal chain, much like Megatron had in the movie. This is something that a lot of companies seem to skip out on Megatron, the fact that he did in fact have a chain, or a hose I guess you could say, pegged into the back. So it's fantastic for me to see that Unique Toys have recognised this design and have implemented it into their own figure. Now, in terms of an electronic function, this figure takes two LR40 batteries. Now, within this figure, I do in fact have two LR42 batteries, just as the size is rather similar and both of them work exactly the same. And the LR42 batteries are actually easier to insert within this than the LR40. So to show you the electronic feature, you can see that there is a small black button actually implemented underneath the fusion cannon itself. If you push it once, you get this almighty orange-yellow glow that comes out. On camera, it's coming across more orange than it is in person, but it is more of a red-orange colour. It looks very aggressive and really does set this figure apart from some of the other releases. If you press it a second time, we get a subtle pulsating glow, much like Megatron is just firing his fusion cannon. And then if you press it a third time, we get a much more rapid blast of the fusion cannon, which is super cool and is such a nice added function as well. It really does help to give this figure some more play value, and when posing this figure, it really does set him apart on display. Now, of course, if you wish to have your Megatron fusion cannon-less, which we also saw in the movie, you simply just want to turn around to the back, and you can see that this piece here will just unpeg from where this screw hole is, and then we can just simply remove the fusion cannon from Megatron's arm. You can plug it into either sides of his arm, so if you wish to have it on the other arm, that is completely your own choice, but just setting it off to the side is very easy to remove, and as you can see, it can come off incredibly easy. Now, if you're into the idea that this version of Megatron was a gladiator when on Cybertron, we can easily remove his battle axe, which is just held on via this slot and this peg on his back, and we can implement it onto this arm so that we can have the shield and axe. Opening up Megatron's hands does reveal a slot. It's very similar to Masterpiece figures, and there is a tab on the actual axe itself. You just want to peg it in there, wrap the fingers around, and here we have Megatron wielding an almighty, huge looking axe. It's really quite a fantastic piece. It's definitely a sight to behold when he's wielding it, and looks very accurate. We can pick out some nice gold highlights throughout it as well, and once again, it's been cast in that very similar gunmetal grey plastic that the rest of the body has in fact been cast in. Just for a wider view, we can see him wielding the axe as well as the shield, and this is definitely a look that I love displaying him in, as it's very knight and gladiator-esque, and I love having him in poses next to the Unique Toys Challenger. Now, if you wish to store all of Megatron's weapons on him at one time, just not on his arms, then that is completely doable with this release. We can see on the back, Megatron does have a huge port, which the peg on the shield can plug into. However, there are a few more things that we could do before we get to that. You can see here there is a peg, which you can flip out this larger peg on Megatron's fusion cannon, and just peg this in there just like so. We can then take the axe as well, and peg this into this notch on the fusion cannon and peg that into place, and then literally just peg the shield onto the back of Megatron. And here we have all of Megatron's weapons stored on his back, and from the front it looks really clean and definitely looks as if though he's walking into battle ready to face off the Autobots and finally finish off Optimus Prime. This is definitely quite a nice look, definitely not the look that I'll be going with in terms of a display, but if you do wish to store all of his weapons on his back, it is completely doable. Now, in terms of detailing and sculpt work, we'll start off with Megatron's head. Once again, a very faithful representation to what we see in the movie. I have opted to go with the battle mask look, where the tusks are folded in and the mouth plate is flipped around. We can see that they have opted to give us the red Quintessa stripe. Some, I know, may not necessarily be too happy with that, as I know some will want Megatron to look rather clean. However, out of his screen time in the movie, he did more or less have this throughout the entire movie. I do believe it was only that scene at the beginning when he was speaking to Barricade that he didn't have it. So in terms of movie accuracy and a more commonly appeared looking Megatron, I can definitely see why they decided to go with this. We can see some fantastic gold highlights within the head itself, loads of nice detail. I've heard some people complain about puppy dog eyes on Megatron. For me, I don't have that problem whatsoever. There is a really nice red paint application painted within the eyes to give him a menacing look, and I'll showcase the battle mask feature now of how you can revert it to a standard mask. To do this, you just want to come to the back, just loosen this up ever so slightly and pop these sections open. You don't necessarily have to do this, however, to allow clearance, I do tend to do this just so I don't scrape any of the paint apps off. You're going to want to take these tusks and apply pressure at the back, which will allow them to prong out to the sides. We can then lift this piece up here, rotate this around, and then rotate this entire faceplate all the way around as well. Just collapse this over the top and then reseal his chest. And here we have Megatron with a more neutral faceplate-less look, which I think looks quite nice. Definitely not my preferred look. I do prefer the battle mask. This to me definitely does give Age of Ultron vibes, particularly with these tusks. But once again, a really nice attention to detail. We've got some nice detail within the mouth plate itself, and I like how the tusks come out to the sides as well. So definitely a really nice look for Megatron, and definitely very movie accurate in its look. In terms of detailing within the torso, we can see some nice gold highlights actually underneath the chest armor, which gives a nice sense of depth. Some nice gold highlights within the torso, as well as some darker gold highlights towards the bottom and some on either sides of Megatron's bicep. I like this asymmetrical design where this one has a slight horn coming up. Both sides have these gold ridges at the top as well, making this design very, very intimidating and rather brutal. I do like the smooth panel lining on this as well. It definitely does give you this sense that he's wearing armor. We've got some details on the gauntlets, and the fingers are all very pointy and very dangerous looking as well, to go along with the motif that Megatron is a ruthless Decepticon warlord. We can turn around to the back and see that he has next to no back kibble at all. This to me really is one of Unique Toys' trademarks, as none of their figures have got ghastly looking backpacks, and considering this figure turns into a jet which will need to have a nose cone and a set of 2 large wings, it's incredible to see how clean this back really is, and it even has some nice details such as some spinal detailing and some back muscle plating, which I think looks nice. We've also got some details, some rigitive detailing on this butt plate too, and the skirt armor too's got some cool detailing on it as well. So just a really nice looking figure. Turning to the skirt armor here, this is slightly more rubberized than the hip armor that we got, but we can see some nice detailing and some nice ridges and spikes sticking off. It is rather pointy as well, so that is something to beware when transforming the figure. We've got the knee armor that swells off to the sides, some nice gold highlights within the knee joints as well as some on the shin areas, and as we turn to the feet, we've got the armor as well as the 3 pointed toes. And just looking at the leg kibble, there is next to none. He's very compact, and considering that this figure is quite large and he has got quite a lot of pieces on him, he is rather light. There isn't much in terms of die cast, I don't believe, besides the internal structure joints, but as it stands, a fantastic looking Megatron figure. In terms of articulation, Megatron's head is on a swivel, so it can look left to right as well as up to down on a hinge joint. These shoulder pieces are on ball joints and hinges, so you can lift these up to the sides, and these joints here are on ratchet joints, so they can hinge all the way up to the sides, and they can rotate full 360 on a hinge joint. There is a rotation just above the elbow, and due to transformation you get roughly, I'd say 90 degrees, maybe ever so slightly over 90 degree bend at the elbow. I would have liked to have seen perhaps a double jointed elbow, but nevertheless I think it looks quite nice. Once again, 360 rotation at the wrist joint as well as a hinge joint, allowing you to move the fists forwards and backwards. The fingers are articulated as well. The thumb is on its own independent ball joint with a single hinge, whereas the index finger has in fact got 3 points of articulation, which is phenomenal, and the other 3 fingers have a similar amount of articulation. However, they are all grouped together like so. We can see here for the torso, he does in fact have a waist joint. I would be rather cautious of the paint apps on these gold pieces, particularly when rotating the waist and kicking the legs out, but these are on springs, so they do spring back into place, and these pieces are on ball joints, so they are able to get out of the way. These rubberized pieces are slightly more of a hindrance. They don't tend to really get out of the way that much, which is such a shame. I wish that perhaps they could have been ever so slightly more rubberized. In terms of leg articulation, the leg can really only kick out to that degree, which is very unfortunate. That's actually one of my complaints with this figure, is that he doesn't get a great range of motion, and you can see it does in fact go off to an angle. If you were to not have it go to an angle, you'd only get that much articulation out of the leg, which I think is rather poor. It can kick backwards this far before before it hits the butt plate. You can do the split to a great degree on a ratchet joint. There is a 360 rotation at the thigh. The knees can bend well over 90 degrees. It's almost as if though there's a double jointed range of motion in a single hinge. And then also another area of criticism that I have is that he really doesn't have a great degree of ankle rocker joint, and the feet can't pivot forwards and backwards. It's just the sole of the foot. The toes themselves really don't move whatsoever. So your dynamic poses are slightly limited due to the lower region of the figure, but the top half really is quite impressive. For a unique toy size comparison, here we have Dragoon and Challenger Megatron and Optimus Prime, and you can see here that I definitely do hear the criticisms regarding Megatron being too tall for this version of Optimus, and I definitely do agree with that in some regards. Now, Megatron has always been slightly taller than Optimus, but definitely not to the magnitude that this Dragoon figure is. He does tower over Optimus and looks almost like he's from a completely different line in terms of scale, which is such a shame considering that Optimus and Lockdown did scale rather nicely with one another, and it just seems as if though the scale has been completely thrown out of the window with Dragoon. However, in terms of my own personal opinion, this really doesn't bother me at all, especially when posing these figures around. They don't look too out of scale with each other whatsoever. If you have the legs bent, you have them in a fighting pose, it really doesn't bother me whatsoever. It's merely when we have them stood side by side like this that I can definitely see there being an issue, but in person it looks a lot better than it is appearing on camera. And be sure to stick around for the end of the video where I'll be posting some fantastic high resolution fighting images of both Dragoon and Unique Toys Challenger. And for a masterpiece movie Megatron comparison, here we have the Unique Toys Dragoon compared next to the MPM Megatron. Now, this version of Megatron was already a huge piece, but you can see that this new Dragoon figure towers over the already pre-existing official Hasbro version. Personally, if you're going in terms of scale continuity, these two characters should roughly be the exact same height, and the masterpiece scale was something that I thought Unique Toys were aiming to keep their figures towards. However, with this figure compared next to the Movie 1 Megatron, we can definitely see that they've just completely thrown that out of the window with this release, as the Last Night version of Megatron is huge when compared next to this masterpiece version. Now, turning to my least favourite part of the figure, that being the transformation, I've got to say that the transformation really and truly to me is set in two stages. You have the entire torso area, which is actually really enjoyable to go through, and then you have the legs, which turn into the wings, which is an atrocious experience, and I honestly wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. To begin with, what we're going to do is turn around to the back and just take this whole section here and pull it out. We can collapse these pieces, however we're going to mess around with those later on. We can come to this section, lift that up. These arms are going to fold backwards. Take these two front chest panels and pop those out. You can see they're held in via this slot and this tab. Repeat the same process here for this side. Then what you're essentially going to want to do is take this whole piece here where the head is and pull all of this back. This will bring all of this down, and you'll be able to extend this and separate it from this die cast connection. With this done, we can proceed to bring all of this up. I recommend folding in these shoulder pads on these ball joints just to lift those up. And turning to this section now, what we can do here is take it and actually untab this piece here and untab this one. Lift this entire assembly out and then proceed to split this and fold this section out and then put these pieces back together. We can then take this, fold this out, bring this half in and then this half in, and then there is a tab on here that will plug into this small slot there. You just want to tab that in, fold down this die cast landing gear. We can then proceed to work our way back up to the top of Megatron, and here what we can do is bring this section in, and you're going to want to slide this all the way up on this joint and repeat the same process here for this side. Slide this all the way up, just bring this shoulder piece down and around on both sides, just like so. There are two slots here and here that this tab and this tab here will peg into. You just want to peg those in together, and then this armor piece actually sits within and this one sort of wraps around it. We can then push this section in, and that is how the front nose cone of Megatron should be looking for this stage of transformation. Now we can turn our attention to these skirt pieces. You're going to want to rotate those around, lift up this copper section, then fold out this piece, and repeat the same process here for this side. So fold this section out, flip up this piece, and what will happen here is these slots here will plug into these tabs here. So I recommend getting these pieces aligned up first, so just click that in and then come to this side as well, and clip this in. And you can see here that there are 2 tabs here and here that will plug into these slots. But before we get to that, we're going to want to bring these legs out via these ratchet joints and just set this crutch plate all the way backwards. Now what we'll do is take these rubberized pieces and just fold this butt flap over the front section so it's covering the front of his crutch. Now what we can do is bring this in, and you can see here there is a big peg that will plug into this port there. Just bring this back, bring these arms out to the sides and tab that into place. With that out of the way, we can then proceed to bring these in and tab both of these in on either side. Now here we turn our attention to the head. You're going to want to take it, ensure that it's got the battle mask option, as these mandibles will become damaged if you choose to transform it with them exposed. Rotate the head around so that the front is now facing the back. And with this screw, you're going to want to pull this screw all the way down to the bottom. So just take this and wriggle this down. It can be rather difficult to dislodge it from its original position, but just clip it into place there, and it will rest in between where this section, where the back section ends up. We can then take these pieces and just fold that over the head just to hide it and allow for some clearance. With that being said, we can take these arms now and just bring those and have those out to the back for now. We don't really need to concern ourselves with these just yet, as we're going to work on one of the most treacherous parts of the transformation, these legs transforming into the wings. For this, what you're going to want to do is come to this piece here and just untab that. We can then come to this piece, pull this out, disengage these. They are locked in via these slight nubs, so just pull those out and then just rotate these around on both sides until they line up appropriately, and then just really nicely secure those into place. Now with that done, we can proceed to turn our attention to the foot. You're going to want to take this shin section where this piece has a seam and just pull this out to the side like so. This die cast joint here, you're going to want to take and disengage it from this peg and plug and just straighten that out for now. What we can then proceed to do is take this section here, and you're going to want to put your thumb on where this gold piece is and actually hold onto, I would say, this piece here, as we're going to push all of this out and bring this section with the fuel tank forward. So just bring that out. Once it is at the halfway point, you're going to want to stop so this gold piece is facing out. We can then take this piece here, and this is on its own individual hinge, which will fold outwards that way. Now, turning to the underside, you're going to want to bring this down so that we have some clearance, and then pull this whole section out, just flip it out. And of course, this is going to form the wing. So just bring this piece in and bring this section down as well. And then what we could do is just bring this and set that out to the side for now. Now turning to another difficult part of transformation, that is this entire thigh assembly. This actually goes through quite a lot, so I will do my best to explain it as best as I possibly can. Here you're going to pull this piece out. Then you're going to want to rotate it around, bring this ratchet joint back and rotate it in like so. What this will allow you to do is take this die cast joint and just bring all of this back upon itself. Now it's not going to make too much sense right now, but once we get it all aligned up, it will make perfect sense. You're then going to want to take where this seam is and rotate this piece around as well. So definitely lots of rotations and areas of which could become quite complex. Now we're going to take this and bring this section up and just collapse this upon itself. You're going to take this, bring this up, bring this piece up, and then fold the toe down. This will then allow you to overlap all of this. And essentially where this section is, it's going to slide in where this hollow piece is. So you're going to want to end up with something that looks along the lines of this. Now this isn't perfect, but it's definitely a good basis to begin really converting the legs. Here we can see that there is a slot there and a slot on this fuel tank that this tab here, and just bringing this out of the way, and these will peg into. So just bring these down. It's really just a matter of aligning these pieces up appropriately to really get the transformation nailed. So just bring this around and try your best to lock these joints into place, and then come to this one here, get your thumb under there to really get that clicked in. And once that is clicked in, you'll see a gold copper tab here that will peg into this space. Well, at least it's supposed to. However, on mine, it really doesn't like tabbing in too well. Here it's gone in quite flushly, but sometimes I do find myself having some issues with that. Fold this piece out and then bring this wing now and just angle this out to the side and then bring this piece straightened like so, so that this whole wing should look somewhat like this. And believe it or not, that is one side done. We still have another side to go. Here, what we are going to want to do is take this here, and this piece has to overlap this section. So you have to bring this over. There is a big tab there that will plug into quite a big slot on the underside. So just bring that over and tab that into place, and that is essentially one side of Megatron fully transformed. So now to repeat the same process on the opposite side, we're going to swing out the underside of Megatron's soul. We can then bring these pieces around on this swivel joint and just align those up so that we can proceed to tab those into place here. It can be quite finicky as stated previously, so just align those up as best as you can. Perhaps I should have this section straightened out ever so slightly more. Peg that into place. Then bring this piece down, bring this section out and down as well. We can then come to this piece and pull this out, which will allow us to rotate this out. Then bring this upwards, take this whole section. Once again, put your thumb here and launch this piece outwards from where the gas canister is, where this fuel tank is. Bring this all the way out. Disengage this die cast rod. And then now what we can do is take this and bring this out as well. Pull this piece out, because what we're going to do here is ensure that we have enough clearance to pop through the wing and bring this all out. And now it's just a matter of pulling these panels down and around on both sides. I'm going to be doing this quite quickly as I have already gone into quite significant detail on the opposite side. So now just bring this ratchet joint around, bring this toe down as well, so that when we proceed to pull this up, we'll have this all in the correct alignment. Bring this piece back, come to this thigh section and pull this section out just like so. Rotate this around on its own independent swivel joint. So swivel this all the way around and bring the ratchet joint backwards. We can then rotate this piece around as well, also on a swivel joint, and then just proceed to launch the ratchet joint backwards and the die cast joint forwards, and then bring all this up nice and close with one another. And then hopefully everything is aligned up appropriately, so we can just bring this down, or maybe not, depending on how it wishes to work. Luckily, it's going to go into place quite seamlessly by the looks of things. Bring this piece down as well over that joint, and then push this section into this side like we did on the opposite side. You can see here I'm having more difficulty pegging this side in, similarly to what I explained earlier. Sometimes it likes to clip in, sometimes I have some problems. Perhaps it's due to this not aligning 100% correctly with that in. Hopefully that's slightly better, but unfortunately no, we still appear to have that issue. It's like there's a tolerance issue pushing it back outwards. And then take this, overlap this and tab that side in, bring this up. And thankfully, that is both of Megatron's wings fully transformed and converted, so we can begin to proceed to rotate to the back, which is where my favourite element of transformation lies, due to you literally near enough being completed with the transformation. You're going to want to bring these ratchet joints down, ensuring that you're pulling down the side that exposes this piece here, as this is actually going to be something that we use in order for the aesthetic of the jet mode. We can then come here and disengage this elbow joint and bring this up, and repeat the same process here for this side. So bring this down and bring this out to the side so we can see what's going on, and bring that around. And these big pegs here will plug into some tabs on the underside of here. So align these up and tab that into place. Now what we can do is bring this, overlap this over, bring this panel down, and there is in fact a slot there that will plug into this tab. So just click that into place like so, and then we can fold this section out, which is almost as if though it's like a turbine or some kind of fuel exhaust. Collapse this down, repeat the same process here on this side. So click this into place as well, and then bring this down and around, and then clip this piece here into place, and then once again fold out this piece, fold this section down, and thankfully, believe it or not, here we have the Unique Toys Dragoon fully transformed and in his awesome looking alien Cybertronian jet. Now, before we get into the jet mode, an option which you can in fact do is take his fusion cannon, fold out so we have the longer peg exposed, and in order to fill out this section here, you can actually peg it into this slot. So plug that in there, bring this chain around, and the chain will actually peg into this slot, the same screw hole that we would peg into if we were putting it into Megatron's arm. And I just think that that fills out this whole section a lot more. And seeing as the fusion cannon is very similar to the rest of the design, I think it blends in quite nicely and really helps to fill in that space. So as I'm sure you'll agree, this figure definitely has a very complex transformation, but both robot mode is astounding and jet mode is just as astounding. Now, we don't really get a clear look of how Megatron appeared in his jet mode. We only see it very briefly in the last night, but comparing this to some concept art, this actually comes quite close. He does have a completely die-cast tip at the front. We've got some nice gold highlights throughout, as well as some Cybertronian engraved hieroglyphs on the sides of the cockpit. I would have perhaps liked if the cockpit was in fact a copper colour, much like this. However, it's just a silver colour and kind of blends in with the rest of the design, which doesn't, to me, look too good. You can bring this up and expose some nice detailing under there as well. Lovely copper paint here for where I would presume the engine would be. Some nice copper paint on where these intakes would be. We've got some details of some guns. We've obviously got the huge fusion cannon. Some nice detailings on the wings. And then as we flip around to the back of the jet, we've also got some nice gold detailings for where the exhausts would be, as well as these slight pistols. You could say they were guns or perhaps exhausts as well. So overall, it's quite a nice looking jet mode. We do have the die-cast landing gear here, and the rest of the figure just rests on these knee pads, so you can have him resting along the ground, which looks quite nice. So definitely quite a nice looking jet mode. I'm not going to delve in too much into the jet mode, as it is rather self-explanatory. It's a very huge looking jet. I don't really have much in terms of a comparison, but considering you saw how he scaled with Optimus within robot mode, here is him in vehicle mode. You can see that the jet is huge. Even in jet mode, he completely dwarfs the Unique Toys Challenger. So definitely a huge piece, but for me, I'm definitely going to be displaying this in his far more superior looking robot mode. So there was my review on the newly released Unique Toys Dragoon, aka the masterpiece version of the Last Night Megatron. I personally really enjoy this figure. I think robot mode is absolutely astounding. It's almost up there in terms of detailing with 3A. However, this figure actually transforms. You can see right here, it transforms into a very accurate looking jet mode from his appearance in the movie, as well as some concept art. I think that for the most part, the transformation is not the most enjoyable I've ever sustained. I think that the wing transformation is definitely quite difficult to do. You really have to align some of the paneling up just right in order for everything to work. And if you miss one step, you do have to go back and correct yourself before you can proceed to move on to the next. I think that the paint apps could have perhaps been slightly improved. For the most part, this figure doesn't have any paint on him besides the gold highlights. This is all plastic as far as I can tell, and I do wish that there was perhaps some more die cast in order to help the figure stabilize when getting him into some slightly more dynamic poses. This is definitely one of the lightest Unique Toys products, despite this actually being the largest, which is quite surprising. I love the fusion cannon, how it has an LED feature as well, and the axe is really cool. The shield is a nice bonus addition, is something I wish we saw in the movie. So overall, just a thoroughly well done figure. No QC issues as far as I'm concerned. I'm really rather impressed with this. So if you are in the market for picking this figure up, I cannot recommend highly enough that you check out his listing over at Showsy Store, where he is in fact available to order right now. You can have this in your collection within a matter of days or even weeks, and I honestly don't think you'll be disappointed in your purchase. So that just about wraps up my review on this brand new Unique Toys Dragoon. Please be sure to let me know what you think of both the figure and the review down in the comment section below, and until my next review, I'll see you shortly. Thanks for watching.